Okay, so today I figured I would show my Barlow collection, which is one of my kind of collections as far as like specific types of knives that I collect. I also kind of collect trappers, and I have a couple different Stockmans and just case knives in general, to be honest. But anyway, this is going to be the Barlow collection, and maybe sometime later I'll post a case knives collection because that's also pretty interesting, I would think. So anyway, I'm just going to start with the Barlow that I had in my pocket today, which is this Case CV saw cut brown bone Barlow here. And of course, CV is the chrome vanadium carbon steel, so you can kind of see that there's a little bit of like patina in the blade on the blade there. At least I think you can kind of see that. This was the only widely available chrome vanadium Barlow case made in 2019. Now, Shepherd Hills Cutlery, that's who it was, made a dealer exclusive yellow Delrin one in CV, which I also kind of want. They still have them, so I might end up getting one. I'm not sure yet. With this global pandemic stuff going on, I haven't really been that interested in knives right now. I'm kind of worried about other stuff. I do have a case Rustlock coming, though, because that's a knife that I've always kind of wanted. So anyway, this is probably my most used Barlow, and my most carried Barlow is this one. I really enjoy it. I like the saw cut bone, even though it's not really very saw cut looking. This side is kind of. You're not going to be able to see that. I'm filming this on my GoPro, by the way, because my other camera doesn't really like to focus. And I figured maybe I'd try using the GoPro for this. So if it sounds weird or looks different or whatever, that's why. But yeah, so this is probably my most carried and most used Barlow right now. You might be able to see the pin sticking out of the bolster a little bit there. It's because when I got this knife, it had a little bit of side-to-side play on that main clip point blade. So I wanted to get rid of that, so I used a hammer and an axe head to kind of, hammer the pin so that it wouldn't have that blade play anymore. And that worked pretty well, but the pin sticks out of the bolster just a little bit. I don't really mind. I'm kind of treating this like my own version, my own cheaper version, and more widely available version of like a TC Ancient Barlow. So I'm kind of just, carrying it in my pocket with my keys and everything, letting it get scratched up and all that. And I'm just, using the knife, and I want it to, just age naturally, because I think that's kind of cool. So anyway, that's the knife that I currently have in my pocket today. Let's stick with case Barlows for now. This is a Caribbean Blue Bone saw cut. This saw cut's way better looking. I wish that the saw cut on that brown bone looked like this, because that would make it really nice. But the saw cut on this bone is excellent, and I really love the bright blue color. I think it's nice. One criticism I have of this knife and my other case Barlow that I'll show then is the shield in the bone handle. Generally speaking, Barlows don't really have that. I would have preferred them stamping it on the bolster like that brown bone one. But, Case didn't do that. Anyway, this one's in the True Sharp stainless steel instead of the CV. It's very highly polished, as you can see. You can see me there. Very, very highly polished. This knife is very pretty looking. If you were a case collector, you would want to, keep this nice and pristine and everything. I've carried it, I think, 1 or 2 times. I should probably carry it more, but generally speaking, I just don't get really excited about the cases in the True Sharp stainless steel. Not like I do with the ones in chrome vanadium or the CV. Anyway, but this one's probably the best fit and finish on all three of the case Barlows that I have. So there's like no gaps. There was no blade play. It's just really nicely put together. So I was really impressed with this Barlow. This is probably the best case Barlow that I got out of the three that I have. So that's the Caribbean Bone case Barlow. Just put that over there somewhere off screen. The next case Barlow is the Ancient Bone Spear Point case Barlow. This knife's also pretty well put together. The edge grind, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but the edge grind's pretty typical case. It's not very equal, so that's a problem. On the Caribbean Bone one, it looks good. And on my brown bone one, I'm not really sure because I've sharpened it a few times now. This one's supposed to be like a fancier single blade Barlow, so it's got the little like whatever they call that on the bolster. I'm kind of drawing a blank right now, but it's got that, so it looks a little bit fancier. The Ancient Bone looks pretty cool. This side's darker than this side. That's pretty typical with case. This knife was also put together pretty well. It had no blade play at all, so I didn't have to worry about that. One of the scales has a slight gap between it and the liner. It's not necessarily a huge deal. Collectors and people who compare case to GEC get really bent out of shape about stuff like that. I don't really care that much. For me, a knife is a tool. I use them that are gonna get beat up and everything. So the fit and finish on the knives doesn't bother me that much as long as there's no blade play and there's not like excessive gaps between the back springs and like the liners. Because excessive gaps are annoying, but just small little gaps don't really bother me that much. So yeah, that's the Ancient Bone Spear Point Barlow. The reason I got this, well, this was the first Barlow I got from Case, was because of the Spear Point, and the Ancient Bone I thought looked pretty cool. Also, I'm not a big fan of the shields on the Barlows, but it's a pretty neat looking shield. It's like a rocket or like a missile or something, or a bomb shield. I'm not sure what they call it. They might call it a bomb shield. I'm not sure. Again, in the True Sharp stainless, most of the Barlows were. So yeah, just a neat looking knife. It's really thin for a Barlow, like compared to the Caribbean Bone one here. You can see the Caribbean Bone one's a lot thicker, so it feels better in your hand when you're actually using it. But it's a pretty nice little knife anyway. Okay, what next? This Old Timer Charade Barlow. This is a newer Charade. So it's made in China by Taylor Brands. It's got two blades. It's got a clip point and a pen blade. I'm not going to try to pull the pen blade out right now because the main blade's open. Delrin saw cut handles. It's got a shield that says Old Timer on it. The bolster says Charade, which is pretty cool. Back springs aren't super strong. There's no half stops like on the cases. There's half stops. Fit and finish on this knife wasn't bad. This was like less than $10 when I got it. I don't know how much they are now, but for less than $10, pretty decent little knife just to use and to abuse or whatever. Steel is like 3CR or some sort of super cheap Chinese stainless. Doesn't really matter on a knife like this, in my opinion. Yeah, just a neat little knife that I've actually enjoyed quite a bit. I carried it for a little while. Just super cheap. You don't really have to care about what happens to it. It's a great knife for, if you're going somewhere and you think you might lose your knife. It's a good knife for stuff like that. And it also can still cut things and everything, obviously. But, yeah, less than $10, I'm pretty happy with it. Next. This is the Bombshell Barlow by Novelty Cutlery, which I believe is a company owned by Smoky Mountain Knife Works, but I got mine off Amazon. It was like $10 off Amazon. This is assembled like the old Imperial knives, where the sides are clipped on to the liners instead of being like actual bolsters and covers and everything. It's just like this whole side is one piece. And the whole reason I got this knife was because of the pinup art in the side of the plastic handles, which I thought was pretty cool. This side, yeah, there's a little crack there in the plastic. I haven't really carried or used this knife. Like I said, the whole reason I bought it was because of the pinup art, because, I mean, I just really like pinup art. Not sure what kind of steel, some sort of stainless. It doesn't really matter. You know, just a cheap Barlow that was kind of cool. This is an Imperial. Speaking of Imperial, this is an Imperial Barlow. Again, same kind of construction as that knife. The sides are held on by these little metal tabs. You can see them better on this side. And they just pop off like hubcaps, kind of would like on a car back in the day. I forget what some people call these. But yeah, just the whole side is just one piece, and you can pop them off. So it's not really a traditional Barlow, but I mean, I guess it's still a Barlow pattern. At least I'm going to consider it one right now. But I got this at Roots Country Market for $5. And the main blade, as you can see, has been barely used at all. It doesn't look like it's been sharpened like ever, pretty much. So I thought it was worth $5. It's got some sort of company stamp on it. I assume this must have been some sort of like either like a marketing thing, or maybe they like, you know, gave them to their employees for like, I don't know, gave them to their employees for something. But yeah, it's got a main blade clip point and a pen blade like most Barlows do. You know, I just figured it was a good little example of an old USA made Imperial. You know, it was in pretty good shape for $5. So yeah. This is an older Barlow made by Cutmaster out of Utica, New York. It's got, you know, main blade clip point and a secondary pen blade like most Barlows, like I said. Some sort of, I assume, steel bolsters, because they look like they have some sort of corrosion on them. Just some cheap feeling plastic made to look like it's saw cut. You know, it feels like a pretty well-made knife. I bought this back when I was, you know, younger and didn't really know anything about pocket knives. So I don't really know anything about this. Know if it's really that good or anything. The back springs seem pretty strong on it. I mean, for what it is. And I just kind of assume this is one of those less expensive Barlows that they made back, you know, in the day. So I don't remember how much I paid for this. I was, you know, pretty young when I bought this, because I, you know, just found this like a year and a half ago or so. But yeah, I was pretty young when I bought this, I believe, so I don't remember how much I paid for it. Imagine it probably wasn't a lot, because, you know, I didn't have a job back then, so, you know, maybe like $5-10, I don't know. So anyway, there's that. Similar knife, I think made by the same company. I can't see the tang stamp, but I think it's a Cutmaster 2. This one doesn't have Barlow stamped on the bolster, but it's the same like plastic saw cut handles. This time, instead of a clip point, it has a spear blade, but it still has that typical, you know, pen blade secondary. And this pen blade has been on a power sander at some point, it looks like. And I believe this main blade may have been too. Yeah, this one's not as well taken care of as that other Cutmaster. And as you can see, the back spring's pretty weak on it. But yeah, I haven't really carried this one. You know, just keep it in the collection because it's a neat old Barlow. And then we have this one, which is probably one of the best examples of a old Barlow that I found. The back spring on this main blade is absolutely ridiculously strong. As you can see there, I could barely get it open. I don't really have any fingernails right now. But this was made by... There's no way I'm going to get this to focus on it. But this was made by York Dutch something or another. I can't read the whole bolster. Let me see if I can read it. York Cutlery, Solingen, Germany. So, you know, it's just an old Barlow main clip point. It's got a secondary pen blade. This clip point, this back spring is ridiculous. Pen blade's pretty substantial. And this is an old knife. The clip point has been sharpened to a ridiculous amount. The edge is like almost completely ruined on it, which is kind of disappointing. Back springs carbon steel, whole thing carbon steel. I think the bolsters are carbon steel too. Handles or covers are made out of, I can't tell if it's some sort of bone or if it's a synthetic material, but this side's lighter than this side. I paid $10 for this. I don't know if that's, fair price or overpriced or what, but I was happy to pay it for this because I thought this was so cool. And this was back when I was kind of unsubconsciously or subconsciously, I guess it'd be subconsciously, collecting Barlows without trying to. I think ever since I watched Apostle P's video where he interviewed Charlie Campagna. Yeah, that's his name, Charlie Campagna. Where he interviewed Charlie Campagna and he showed his like huge, massive collection of Barlows. I've just been pretty interested in Barlows. So when I saw this really reminded me of some of the knives that you saw in Charlie Campagna's collection. And I just, I had to have it. When I asked the guy how much he wanted for it, he said $10. And I was like, oh, I'll pay that. Or actually, I think this might have actually had a sticker on it, but I was willing to pay the $10 for it because I thought it was that cool. So anyway, that's going to be it for this video. Wash your hands, use that hand sanitizer, and stay safe, stay healthy, stay inside, which is why I'm making this video inside. Normally I would prefer to make videos outside because of natural lighting and everything, although it doesn't look too bad on the screen on the GoPro, so hopefully this won't look too bad when I put it on the computer. But anyway, that's going to be it for now. I might do a case collection, either, film it either later today or maybe tomorrow. But yeah, I don't know. So anyway, I hope you guys have a good day. I hope you're healthy and safe, and I will see you next video.